Hello everyone and welcome to today's lighting critique. It's going to look a little different today just because I am away from my normal workstation. My wife needed our bedroom for seeing some patients virtually, so I am on the other room on my laptop. So I wanted to start today by talking about Jordan had submitted 3 images from Dark Souls. Images that he was motivated by, things that he really liked. We were talking about Dark Souls on the side, and he mentioned that he was just found it beautiful, and so what I wanted to do was I encouraged him to just take some screenshots and find some images of what inspired him, because we were having trouble like kind of locating it. So looking at the screenshots, I think the three images kind of demonstrate some commonalities that I think that we're finding. One is a clear communication of the vastness of space. Like, they've really done a brilliant job of creating an entire world that makes sense visually, that allows it, like, it has aerial perspective, so it steps back into space. You can see it here. There's lots of haze off in the distance, and you can see it here with more focus on the character, allowing it to fall off out of, with some depth of field, but also like really an understanding of what environment lighting is, which is, like some haze on these hills as we go off in the distance. The horizon looks just about right with the color, the ramping of the color change as we get down to the horizon, a little bit of softness along that horizon line, the light just picking up these waves at these glancing angles is all exactly what we want. Additionally, you're seeing a really strong sense of color, right? Like really icy, cool blue tones in this image, warm, sunsetty oranges here, and then these kind of like blue greens of this stormy weather shot as well. So it's an understanding of space. It's also an understanding of color and a real pushing of that color to drive emotional feelings. It's also, like you can see in this one, the patches of lightness in the foreground really drawing our eye there. We've got patches of light and dark going around here. This one's a little bit less. It's pretty even in through the foreground here, but that's just where you are in the scene. But like, look, there's a patch of light here on this tower. That's where we're driving to, where we're getting at. Not easy to do, but they've really done a good job in this game. So those are the big things that I wanted to address there. So I want to go through alphabetically everybody else, but I wanted to start there just because I know you put that in earlier in the weekend, and I wanted to get going there. So Aaron, here's your reference. Here's your first pass at the sushi scene. Very cool stuff. Love the reference, right? Like you're bringing in the back plate into the scene, and you're adding a little bit of blur, which is smart, and you're really carrying over some of the core elements, which are like very, very saturated, very punchy colors. And then if you're looking here in the shadows, just like some super cool blue shadows in these regions, and then just some good shaping on the character there. Now looking at these, we've got some good shaping coming along here. I do want to encourage us to push more blue into the shadows. I know it's difficult because the surface itself is like a wood grain. So what I would actually consider doing is changing the texture of the plate of that wood to maybe like something white or something, maybe even something cooler to really kind of absorb that cool color. Or just making the wood a little bit lighter so that you can really push some cooler tones into, lost my cursor there, into some of these regions down in here. There we go. But I do like the saturation that you're getting on the images. The red balls here and down and around here could use a little bit less saturation, a little more translucence, like a little more light penetrating through them. And again, speaking of the blue shadows, like look how nice and blue these whites are getting down here. That's kind of what I was reacting to. So it'd be nice if we had a material on the tabletop that could absorb that and really demonstrate that a little bit more strongly. Now, my next question to you is, you're kind of emphasizing, with what we're looking at here, you're kind of emphasizing the whole scene, but at this low camera angle, it's difficult to kind of like, especially in this region over here, it's difficult to distinguish the individual sushi rolls. Like it's individual, like it's difficult to see these guys up here. So I would consider, if you're going to look at this from like a larger perspective, I would consider tilting the camera upward just a little bit, like just pushing it up this way, keeping the aim the same, but just tilting it upward to aim downward at it so we can get more of an idea of the space. From there, I would also like to have you get into a couple of the individual scenes. So I like this this notion of a overall scene, but I'd like to see that paired with kind of exploring the space a little bit and looking at some of the individual scenes as well. And additionally, I want you to push the material on these falling leaves. They are looking a little solid, and what we want, like you can see it here, I want to kind of match these leaf colors. A little more saturated, a little more red, a little less purple, and I want to feel translucency, so you may want to make some material adjustments there. But overall, I think this is looking really well. I would just continue to push it, and we've got some time. Like I said, we've got all of December and January in this one, so let's really use that opportunity and that time to really tell a story here. So great start, but you're coming out of the gate fast. Really great start. Adrian, so this is your previous version. This is the updated one. So really nice progress there. It's one of those things that, like, as you get more familiar with lighting and more familiar with this game, you will see there'll be less times when you're like, oh, I submit this and I think it's done, and then you get notes and you make some changes. You're like, whoa, this is so much better than the last version. So because you sounded like you were very excited about this update, and I think it looks great. I think this is much better. This is much more in alignment with where we were seeing some of the Lego reference before. Yeah, I think you might be able to just push it just a little bit, a little bit brighter in the midtones. I think can go just a touch brighter in there, and then I think we could probably call this guy done. Like just a little bit in those midtones. Just push them just a touch more, and I think you would be all good there. But really, really great job. All right, Asha, welcome over to Discord. So this was a submission from before. This is our Adam. I want to take a look at because I really love the character lighting on this reference image. And the thing that I really like about it is the treatment of the skin. So there's clearly cool light coming in and filling in these areas. There's warm light coming up from underneath. But check out the softness of it, right? And check out this kind of like reddish neutral color of the skin tone. It's very subtle. It's very soft. The transition into the shadow is very soft. There's no hard lines, except for the shadow from the eyeglasses up there. But we don't have to worry about that. So it's all just like super smooth, subtle transition throughout the whole thing. So looking at this, this is a little bit more harsh in the transitions. Like there's a little bit more of a hard line up and through here. And then additionally, like if you just look at the color of the face here, like this is much warmer, much more orange than what we are seeing in here. So really pay attention and really try and match like this skin tone as the warmest of them, and then allow that to move into this cool setting. So looking up in here, this cool is a little bit more green than what we were seeing in the reference as well. So if I just looking at this, like if we just move a little bit less green, like more into this realm of color. More coolness and less of the yellow greens, more of the red blues in there. And then additionally treating the eyes. You've got the dings in a good position, but look at the shaping on the eyes. You can feel, and again, this probably isn't like photo real, but you can feel some variation in the shape going from the bottom to the top. So you want to make sure to hit that, and then watch out for like hard shadow lines like this. Just you really want to feel that softness. And then we'll start playing with the background a little more. But I really, really want you to kind of nail that look first and foremost. So these are the Jordan. Oh, next up here for Jordan, we've got your previous version versus your updated version. And noise is going to be an issue in scenes like this. Any scene, excuse me, any scene that relies a lot on secondary illumination, anything from like bounce light, is going to require some additional sample sizes. So don't be afraid to push it a little bit further. In terms of the lighting itself, I think it's looking really good. I think that you could split the balance and go a little bit brighter on this lamp up underneath here. This is a little bit too bright. And then what the updated version is a little bit too dark. I would kind of split the difference and go a little brighter in there. The main thing that when you're going with super brights like that is to make sure that you are rendering it out as an EXR file. Because what you don't want is for all of these values inside of there to just be 1 or like 111. You want there to be some, you want some of them to skip up to 5 or 8, or, like that way you can have more dynamic range and more ability to control that. That's definitely something that will come into effect when you're working in the industry. Everyone wants an HDRI image or an image that if you tweak the values around, you can still have some variation in values. It's not just all clamped off at 1. So there's that. And then the other thing that I do think that we're losing some of the shaping in the chair here. Like, you've done a really good job of getting more more contrast on these pillows, but I kind of like this little bit of scraping light across the back there. It does kind of start to highlight that this could get a little more light. So maybe even if you crypt it around a little more. But overall, I think that's really, really good. I like the new contrast point that we're not getting quite as much haze over top of everything. I love the subsurface and the backscatter on all the leaves. The specularity in the books back there. It's all looking really well. Some of this stuff is getting a little bit bright, like especially that box lid flap. And then the skin is getting a little bit burned out too. And additionally, like, watch out for these flower pots on the windowsill there, going a little bit, like, you might want to check the values in there. Those might be getting a little bit too bright too. But yeah, I think this is coming together really well. I think this is going to look great. And this is not the easiest of scenes to light either. Oh, watch out for the, I'm wondering, did you see this little, like, it's almost like a rim hit right here on this? And I'm wondering, because I can see the sun back behind it here. It feels odd that I was able to kind of skirt around this and hit that. So maybe, yeah, maybe just tone that down just a little bit. But the rest of it's looking really good. I think it's coming together quite nicely. All right, Kat. So I know you got the new machine coming, so I don't want to push too much. I just wanted to, say that I really like that you pulled back. I love the idea that you tried the new thing where you put the hand in there. We played around with it. It didn't work. So, there's always the old adage of never give up. The best skill that you can learn in this industry is to not to never give up, but to kind of fail fast with your work. Is if you try something and you recognize it's not working, just pull back. And that way you're not like trying to force something that isn't going to work. So I want to commend you on that. And then from there, I'm just going to let you keep on keeping on. And I do want to say, and we've had this conversation in private, but I think that you, up until this point, not working with any sort of ray trace shadows has been very difficult. But you've learned some creative approaches to things because of that limitation. And now that you get your new machine in a few days and you have this new capability, you're going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with. Because not only because you've been forced to come up with creative solutions and not rely on the technology. So that's really great. All right, Mindy, this is looking great. I agree. Like, I understand the lighting setup now. I think that makes a lot of sense. The one thing that I would say is if this wall back here is being illuminated by a light, I would just make this area that's back behind her a little bit brighter, because it feels like the light is only in front of her, and you want to just have it be a little brighter there. to eliminate that feeling of all this light is being generated from her, right? I think that would help that out a lot. And then I think you can go warmer with her because she's getting a lot of warm light from this, warm light from the light in the upper screen, right? It's just that like all the light from the flowers is a little bit neutralized. But even with that in mind, I do think that we can go a little bit warmer on her. And a little less magenta too. Or maybe something along those lines. Just because again, she's getting hit with the warm light off the character from the street lamp. And I think that would have more of an effect on her. But yeah, background's looking good. Everything else is coming together really well. Oh, and then I was looking down here. Like I just want those white flowers to be a little bit brighter. If you could just push them a little bit more in the shadows, I think that would be good too. And then if you could make this bowl a little bit, like the flowers in this bowl, just a little bit brighter. Like, let's do that real quick. Like you don't want to be so bright that they're distracting, but they are a little, they're looking a little, just like a touch dingy. So maybe something, maybe not quite that bright, but like somewhere in this region. But yeah, really, really beautiful stuff. And then lastly, we got Sooner. So I know that you had the 3 images, but I do like to always look at the final. I do think you've got some good build up there. So some things to keep in mind. Yes, the biggest thing is the amount of volumetric light that you have over top of the character is very strong. You need to think when you're thinking about volumetric light, especially when we're this close to a character, this close to camera, only like a few inches away, that volumetric light, the God rays are going to be far away from you. Like we never find ourselves standing in like volumetric light very like it's just not as thick when it's closer to us. It's an atmospheric thing and it builds up as you go off in a distance. And so I would push all of that back behind the character. I'm fine with it being in there. Like I'm fine with it being, that's not right. I'm fine with it being back over here for this, like in this region. But for the foreground, let's pull it off because it'll really help us get more contrast in there. In terms of the lighting, I think your shaping is coming out really well. I think you can potentially push the light more to the screen left side just because I want more shaping coming across this way. I think we can more specifically in this region in here. Like I think you can get some more light to dark fall off. Additionally, watch out because it's not like the back of them looks very bright. And so it's almost like there's a light source coming back here and one coming from the screen left side over here. So you don't want to cause too much confusion. If that's a separate light back behind them, you want to take down the intensity of that one quite a bit so it's not in the same level as the key light. There's some jagged edges on these, especially on the buttons and the eye patch. You just want to make sure to smooth that geometry. You don't have to do it now, just before you move to final render once you have all of your lights the way that you want them. I would also, for just the sake of the image, try matching up the wood tones between the background plate and the foreground. Just because it's a little odd that they're such different wood tones when you look at the image as a whole. So I think that would be a really nice next step, and we can take a look at it from there. But this is, you got it uploaded, you got it downloaded, you got it input in Maya, you're lighting it, you're doing it. So really good progress there for you overall. So that's it for today, everyone. I thank you for hanging with me. And if you have any questions at all, just go ahead and throw them in the chat down below, and I'll take a look at them later today. All right. Happy lighting, everybody.